I was putting in the work, paying your dues. You just felt like, okay, I didn't do it when I came out of university because I got the MTV job, but maybe this is my time to put in the work. I put in it all. I put everything to it. And I just couldn't, that fire within me to be a presenter just didn't go out. I just still sat down with my mum and dad and I was like, I don't know what to do. This is what I want to do and I believe I can do it, but there's no opportunities out there.
So I'm sure after seeing that small intro, everyone knows who's the guest for the day. Yes, it is none other than Nimi Mehta. Born and raised in the UK with an Indian heritage, Nimi moved to the UAE about 6 years ago and has since become one of the leading female voices in the country. After 5 years of hosting the #1 breakfast show on 104.8 Channel 4 FM and becoming a household name, Nimi now hosts a daily TV show, Dubai Today, on Dubai TV. When she is not on the TV or the radio, Nimi is hosting some of the biggest stages in the UAE. Most recently, she has made it her mission to help others discover the power of their voice with her public speaking masterclass called SPKR By Nimi Mehta. She has also worked alongside a multitude of local and international brands, showcasing their message and guaranteeing a seamless and smooth program for their event. Nimi is well skilled to host live in-person events, conferences and awards, product launches and virtual studio events. She is also comfortable in moderating panels and fireside conversations focused on technology, wellness, beauty, business and women leaders. What you should know about Nimi is she loves the stage and has hosted many public and private events across the Emirates. From the Meta Spark Awards at the Museum of Future to Globe Soccer Dubai, to the region's largest tech festival, Step Up Conference. Nimi has done it all. She is also currently into season 3 of her podcast, Everything Legit, a show that has amassed thousands of avid listeners focused on real-life conversation and social challenges, boasting previous guests' interviews with the likes of Gary Vee, Steve Harvey, and Tyra Banks. Nimi has now decided to share her skills and passion of public speaking with the world, holding many workshops with companies, brands and schools on confidence, communication and finding your voice. And here is Nimi Mehta. Nimi, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. What an introduction. It's funny when you're saying all these things, it's kind of reminding me. I'm like, was that me? And you get a bit of imposter syndrome, but that was amazing. Thank you for having me.
So I have one question for you.
Yes.
You've interviewed so many people. Mm-hmm. How do I interview you?
Oh gosh, it's so hard because I'm used to doing all the interviewing, like you said. So being on the other end, you were like, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I'm being interviewed. So we're in this together, this weird dynamic. So okay. Yeah, I mean, best of luck.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Nimi, you have an Indian heritage. Mm-hmm. You're born and raised in the UK. Correct. You chose media as your profession. Mm-hmm. How did that go? And the reason I ask you this is because my niece, she is doing masters in media and we have no clue what goes on with that. Yeah. You have started as the face of MTV in UK. Mm-hmm. How did that journey go?
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago now. And I'm actually glad you raised this point because, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to want to be in the media. It wasn't an easy path or route that I chose. The easiest thing to do would have been to follow what culturally would have been the norm, as we discussed before we came live on air, which was doctor, dentist, lawyer, accountant, something of a profession. And I have such a big family and so many of my cousins, which all females, by the way, so many of them went down these professional routes. And before I decided to go into media, I was actually a semi-professional tennis player. So I was a very sporty individual. I wasn't academic, I wasn't doing well in school. My grades weren't incredible. I was always an average student. And when I decided to go into the media, I remember my parents being the most supportive people ever. They were behind me 100%. I said I had a vision for myself and what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into broadcast. And my parents were like, whatever you need, we're here. So when I chose that as a career and as a kind of route that I wanted to go down and explore, I personally thought there was no wrong in it at the time. It was only until greater society and greater community, i.e., extended family members or, people within my community, friends, started to kind of laugh at me that I chose to do this. And, comments that in Indian families, we know culturally there is no boundaries. People will say whatever is on their mind. I got comments like, being a presenter isn't a job. Only 1% of people make it, and you're not going to be that 1%. And I got that constantly. And throughout it, I had to keep reminding myself as to why I wanted to do this. And I know I also was incredibly lucky that my parents were behind me, because if it was my parents that weren't supporting me, I think I'd be in a very different position now. But culturally, yes, it wasn't acceptable and it wasn't a known path. And now, ironically, now that I am doing it and living my dream, the same people, the same friends, the same family members I always knew you'd make it. So I would say I go around to these schools and I speak to so many kids who are of different ethnicities and backgrounds and, culturally may not be the norm to go down the media route and be a creative. And they're like, I want to do this, but I just don't think people will approve. So I always say to them that if you have that vision for yourself, you need to stick to it. Like, do not give up. Whatever you do, just keep going. Because all you're doing, if you give up, is you're proving them right. And you're proving your vision and your belief in yourself wrong. So stick through it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will all come off. And even if it doesn't, which there was every way mine couldn't have come off, it's okay, at least I tried. I won't live the rest of my life feeling and thinking I didn't try. So just try it and give it your best shot.
How did it all begin? How did you start this? How did you get into MTV?
Well, see, when I left tennis, which just was a whole world on its own, right? Because I was semi-professional tennis player representing my country, traveling the world, playing tournaments, that's all I knew. I was getting homeschooled. I didn't really have much of a social life. So I'd sacrificed so much in that realm to then get to the age of 18 and decide, okay, all of my friends are going to university now. I should probably go to university. What do you want to do? And my dream was always to create my own magazine. It was always to have my own magazine. And I even now have the actual magazine that I'd created and drafted and drawn on and written on and everything at home. And then that kind of faded away because the internet kind of came through and the digital boom happened and YouTube was a thing. And I thought, I want to go into broadcast. Like, I have a feeling, I have a passion for it. And so I went to City of London University, just 45 minutes away from my home. I was very lucky. And I pursued that media route. And even then, I still had no idea exactly what I wanted to do. So every work experience, every internship, everything possible in that industry, in the media world, from TV to radio to newspaper to magazines, I was applying for that role. It was, of course, all voluntary work. And I just wanted to be in the building. I wanted to be in the room. I wanted to experience every role possible in media so I could understand exactly what it is I wanted to do. It was like a process of elimination, right? Okay, so I worked for a local newspaper and I didn't like the editor role. Okay, editor out. Okay, TV, I worked within ITV. I went to, BBC. I did all of these things, and TV I just gravitated towards. There was something about being in a studio, feeling the live, atmosphere, going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that rush that I felt just being in that moment. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I did the education route and I did the journalism degree, which, I have a whole opinion on the degree. I don't feel like it's really served me in the best way possible, to be perfectly honest. But when I came out of that, that's when MTV happened. And I was 21 years old. I got out of university. There was basically they did a whole PR campaign around it, that they are trying to find the face of District MTV, which was a brand new channel that MTV were trying to do, which was a fashion/music channel. And people had to submit their videos. They had to, do a full-on application. I did that. I got all my family and friends to be in my video, which is literally still on YouTube now. It's so embarrassing. I just watched it today and me and my mom were cringing at it. But it was a 30-second video that changed my life because I put that forward, people voted, and then this is the funniest story I'll share with you. Okay. So I got an email through. So it'd been a month of campaigning of asking people to vote for me, like, please vote for me. But at the end of the day, it came down to a judging panel to decide who wins. And my votes weren't at the top. Someone else was very much ahead of me. And one day I'm sitting at home with my sister just watching a TV show. I check my emails and I refresh the emails. And it just says, congratulations, you're the next face of District MTV. And I was in shock. I thought it was maybe a prank. Maybe, someone sent this email through to annoy me or like get a reaction out of me, because there's no way this is how it would be announced. And I have the screenshot still to this day, and it was just a full email of congratulations. We've chosen you to be the face of MTV. These are going to be the next steps. You're going to be covering London Fashion Week. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. And I replied to that email saying, I don't believe you. Can you please call me to confirm? So I sat there, and me and my sister sat there, and then they called me and they said, it's true, you've won it, you're the next face of MTV. And all I remember is just screaming my head off at the top of my voice, just like, I can't believe it. I just came out of university and I've made it. Who gets to say they're an MTV presenter? So it was a real moment for me. But of course, when you think it's the highest moment of your life, slowly but surely it comes to show you that it's not, but it's a moment for sure.
Can I put a pin on this? And shall we go and speak about your semi-professional career? Because I love sports.
Yeah.
Not that this is not interesting. It is very. Of
course, yeah.
But you said you were homeschooled. That means you were really training to go pro.
Yeah. Well, I was always incredibly sporty when I was younger. Everything at school, always the fastest girl in school. I was the captain of every team. And so I knew that sports was definitely a real passion of mine. And then one summer, my dad puts me and my sister in a summer camp, and tennis was a big part of it. And the coach must have given my dad feedback that, by the way, Nimi is really good at tennis. You should maybe consider seeing if she wants to do this. And so my dad came to me and he said, did you enjoy tennis? Is this something that you want to do more of? And I was like, yeah, actually, I would love to. Before I know it, I am literally in the middle of it. And I'm saying, like, from the age of 14 to 18, I played intense. I mean, I was getting up for training at 4 a.m. every single morning. That it wasn't just on the court work, it was off the court work. We were doing weight training. We were, doing physio work, everything. We were doing the mental health side of things and the mental strength side of things. There was just so much involved in it. I enrolled in this camp in the UK where day in, day out, I was doing the same level of training every single day. I remember I couldn't see anything else. All I saw was tennis. All I saw was the court. Then I started playing tournaments and I started touring the UK. Then all of a sudden I went to the level of touring France and then Europe. And then before I know it, I'm in Abu Dhabi playing a tournament. I'm in Andorra playing a tournament, and it says Nimi Mehta GBR. And it hits me. I'm like, I'm representing my country. I need to do this. Let's do this. And I learned so much during those years, which, things that I've learned now, which I still think I apply to my career today. Things that I've learned during my tennis years, which I still think the discipline, the hard work, the vision, the focus, the mental strength, which I still apply to being in the media world today. Right. And I think that it's really, really served me well to become who I am. Although I didn't make it as a professional tennis player, it's helped me in one way or another.
Right. That's what gave you your strength, and you got through even in media. Mm-hmm. So you got selected for the face of MTV. Mm-hmm. What happened next, Nimi? Oh. When did you move into the UAE?
Well, a lot happened between me getting the MTV job and me moving to the UAE. So the MTV job, I thought I made it. That's it. My career's done. I've hit the highest peak. And then my contract ended after a year. I was interviewing the biggest celebrities in the UK. I was doing London Fashion Week. I was doing all the red carpets. And then they decided not to continue District MTV because it was a project that they pursued and wanted to work, but it just wasn't working. Okay. So there I was, 22, jobless, unemployed, didn't know what to do. And there's a real hit to the ego. You know, I look back now and I'm like, wow, I really struggled to understand how I've gone and achieved my so-called dream, and yet it's just been taken away from me and it's been completely out of my control. So it was a really, really tough, I would say, 3 years of what do I do now? Where can I go? What can I do? There's no jobs going, to become a TV presenter is really, really tough. I used and exhausted all my network options that I'd worked so hard to get. And I was back at square one. I was, okay, well, now I need to go back to doing those internships and doing those roles that I don't want to do just to get through the door. So MTV, Nickelodeon, all of these companies are under Viacom, which is a group. And I was like, if I just stay in that building, something will come through for me from MTV. Like, they'll remember me. So I remember there was one job going at Nickelodeon, and that was an advert scheduler, right, to just schedule these TV commercials. And I just applied for it and I got it. And I was like, look, at least I'm in the same building as MTV. So I did that for a year, but it was just it didn't feel right for me. I'm like, I know why I'm here, but it doesn't seem like I'm going to be getting anywhere with the network or anything like that. So I left that job. I then thought I'd go into PR. PR is still in the media. Let me explore that. It was tough work. It was like 20 hours a day of work. I'd be getting the last train home, first train into London. You're constantly on your feet. I was a runner, so I was doing absolutely everything. And I just didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was really living my purpose and doing what I was supposed to be doing. And so those few years, I just thought I was putting in the work, paying your dues. You just felt like, okay, I didn't do it when I came out of university because I got the MTV job, but maybe this is my time to put in the work. I put in it all. I put everything to it. And I just couldn't, that fire within me to be a presenter just didn't go out. I just still sat down with my mum and dad and I was like, I don't know what to do. This is what I want to do and I believe I can do it, but there's no opportunities out there. And my dad suggested, why don't you try radio? There's a local radio station. Why don't you see what they're up to and maybe learn a new skill? And at this point, I was like, okay, that sounds about right. TV, let's just park that on the side. Radio, a great form of media. So it's a local radio station where I live in Watford called Vibe FM, and it goes out to like a couple of thousand of people. And I applied, again, voluntary, and they gave me a slot. And it was in the afternoon. It was like 1 or 2 hour show. And they trained me up to run the desk, to speak, to know when to come in, to basically just radio 101. And I struggled a lot. Radio is intense, especially with all the technicalities of things. And there, before I know it, they put me on the Drive show, which was one of the primetime shows. And I did that for like 3 to 5 months. I loved it. I was doing it every single day. Again, I didn't have a full-time job at that time. My parents lovingly and beautifully allowed me to pursue my passion and my dreams to become who I wanted to become without, I didn't have a salary. I wasn't contributing. I wasn't doing anything. And there was guilt in that, I'm a 20-something-year-old individual and I should have a salary. I should have an income. All of my other friends in corporate jobs are earning big money. They're always out for drinks on the weekend and I can't afford that. But I was lucky because my parents supported me. And I pursued the radio thing. And then within a couple of months, I got asked to apply for a job role in the UAE. And Radio 1 here in Abu Dhabi, it was renewing. So I believe they were shutting down with one company and starting again. And so they were looking for all brand new presenters. And I got asked to send over my demo. And I put this demo together in my local radio station. The producers helped me put it together. I didn't think anything of it. I really didn't even think I was going to get it. Sent it over, and in classic UAE style, 6 months later, I get a reply, and they asked me if I would move over to Abu Dhabi to be the host of the Radio 1 breakfast show. So I went from hosting a local radio station to like a couple of thousand of people, and in 6 months, jumping to hosting a national breakfast show to a whole country. So
which we enjoyed, by the way.
Oh, yay. Yeah, thank you. So it was it was a huge step up, and radio wasn't the plan. It was never part of the plan, but it kind of branched off and happened. And I just rolled with it.
And then you did that for 5 years in the UAE.
Yeah. So I did Radio 1 for 9 months, and then Channel 4 poached me over.
Right.
They were like, we want you. So I moved back to Dubai with Channel 4, and I did that for 5 years. Yeah.
Was it different from the UK? I mean, I know it's a larger audience, but anything other than the audience or the culture?
Yeah, it was hugely different because, you know, I found that when I spoke to the nation, I wasn't speaking to one type of people. You know, back in the UK, I know what to expect, and I know what my audience is, how to speak to them, which terms they would find endearing, which terms they would find playful. Whereas coming to the UAE, there's a layer of censorship as well that you have to be incredibly aware and important of because, you know, being a Westerner, certain things that I might consider banter isn't banter here in the UAE, you know?
Yep.
So I had to be very cautious and careful as to the words I spoke. And, you know, I think there was one time where it was Christmas and for some reason, and I have no idea, I think I was just nervous, but I was speaking to the listeners and I said, what are the things, to the parents, what are the things that you haven't told your children, but they'll probably find out, you know, in the next few years when they grow up. And, you know, parents was texting in loads of different answers. And for some reason, I have no idea why I did this, I said, you know, kind of like Father Christmas isn't real. And that went out to the whole country. And I got a barrage of texts through saying, this radio host needs to be fired. She needs to be sacked. This is the worst thing that you could possibly... And I completely agree with them. It was terrible. I shouldn't have said it, but I did say it. And you learn from those kind of things because you're so nervous and it's just word vomit, you know? It just comes out and then you're just stuck with it. And once it's said forever, especially on radio. So... you know, of course, the audience, the market, completely different. And I was learning on the job for sure.
Would you say that this was one of your most embarrassing moments?
Probably one of my most cringe-worthy moments, I think I would say, where I just wanted to go home and like stay under my duvet for a couple of days. That was probably it. And luckily, you know, my boss was great about it, but it just, I learned from it. And now I'm just very cautious before I speak. On any form of media, of course. And, you know, now I've been here for 7 years, so I'm a lot more aware of what goes and what doesn't. But that was definitely a learning moment.
I was told that you were not always like this way. Were you a shy person? It's very hard to believe.
I know it is, isn't it? It's funny because my mum sees me on stage now and she sees me doing all these things and she sees me hosting a TV show and she's like, are you sure that's you? Are you sure? I feel like I don't even know my daughter anymore because I was a huge introvert growing up. Especially during those tennis years, actually, if you were to meet me then, you would not even recognize me. I was always the girl in the corner. I was always the girl who literally did not want to be seen. I did not want to be acknowledged. I did not want anyone to see that I'm in the room. I did not want them to speak to me because that would mean that I would have to speak back. And I didn't know how to speak back. I was just incredibly shy. I just had super low self-confidence. And it was like that for a very, very long time. And, you know, I know so many people can relate to that. But it's that change that happened. And I feel like I put on this alter ego when it came to the media side of me that really helped me then just transform into that person. It was like I faked it to become it, and I eventually became it, and I realized I'm not faking it because I have it inside of me. It's just this side I've never really tapped into. So it was really, really tough because I still have moments where I'm a social introvert. I don't like to go out in big groups of people. I prefer to just have one-on-ones with people because I feel like I get quality time then. But socially, I still see the old me coming through, and people will kind of perceive that in a negative way that, oh, she doesn't want to talk. But it's actually like more because I feel insecure about myself. So it's been a process. It's still there. I don't think the insecurity or the, you know, timidness ever fully leaves you. But I think I put on this persona when I'm on the stage, when I'm in the TV studio, or on the radio studio. It's this other personality that comes through.
And you have also started SPKR By Nimi Mehta, SPKR.
Yes.
Recently, you've done something with Nando's, and you encourage for them to express themselves better.
Yes.
Can we speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So, with Speaker by Nimi Mehta, what I really wanted to do now is I sat down with myself and I was doing the radio for 5 years, and I, in December, decided to resign. And that was 5 years of like the best time of my life. But I just knew, when you know it in your bones, it's time for a change. And there was fear kicking in, like, no, Nimi, don't do it. Because once you leave radio, like, you won't become relevant anymore. You won't become important. No one will know who you are anymore. I had this serious fear, but I just decided I had to do it. I had to do it because I needed to challenge myself. And so I decided to leave the radio, and then in January, I started Speaker by Nimi Mehta, which is a character confidence communication, public speaking masterclass. And it's a platform where I'm really, really passionate about helping people find the power of their voice. It's something that I wish I had found a lot earlier on in my journey, because I feel like it would have changed the trajectory of my career in my life. But if I'm able to now sit down and use the skills that I have learned in life to help others, then why would I not do it? So I feel like it's got to a stage now where my mindset shifted to legacy. And it was, what do I want to leave behind? What do I want, if I have children one day, what do I want them to know and learn from me? What do I want to leave with the world? And that was this one skill that I have self-taught over the last 5 to 7 years that I don't have qualification in. I'm not a public speaking coach or a public speaking, certified individual, but I just know from experience, and I'm just so passionate about helping people, helping kids from a young age, because, the statistics and the facts behind public speaking and confidence and mental health on that level is profound. And unfortunately in schools, we don't learn how to do public speaking. We're not taught communication. We have our drama classes or our stage schools or whatever, but there is no communication skill class, which is a 101 basic of being a human. And I feel like if we are able to push this through and make parents and children alike understand the importance of this is greater than any career or goal or dream of who you want to become, no matter what industry you want to go into. This is on a scale of mental health. This is on a scale of confidence. This is on a scale of being able to express yourself as to your emotion and how you're feeling. Imagine a child being able to come home from school, sitting down with their parents to say, Mum, I feel XYZ and I'm not sure what to do about it. You know how many lives this could potentially save as well. So this is what I am really, really trying to do is, the ultimate dream. You didn't ask me, but I'm going to answer it. The ultimate dream would be to, work with the Ministry of Education to implement public speaking within the school curriculums, because I think that it is just the most important part of life. And I feel like if people master their voice, they can master anything.
Speaker by Nimi Mehta, is it only for the corporates or is it for individuals as well?
It's for everyone and anyone. There is the corporates I do, like with Nando's, that was amazing. I do face-to-face workshops and I go there and I work with their employees, which is amazing. But Speaker by Nimi Mehta is an online platform where individuals can sign up. It's currently one course, so people can register their interest, but I'm looking to basically diversify into a course specifically for kids, a course specifically for, individuals, for basics, intermediate, advanced, and then I do one-to-ones as well. And, there is so much out there, and I know that it's quite a bespoke, public speaking and communication is quite a bespoke skill. But if I can help you learn the basics of it, then you can start to build your own voice.
Anyone who's interested in this, we'll put the links in the description below for Speaker by Nimi Mehta. Let's speak about your podcast, Everything Legit.
Yeah.
When did you start your podcast?
I started my podcast in 2019, and it was a week before I got married.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, if there's any time to do it when my head is all over the place, because it felt like it was a brain splatter and I was able to direct that energy. Right. So I started it a week before I got married, and it was honestly only supposed to be just me speaking. I had no intention of getting guests on and getting celebrities on. It just naturally took that route. But it just started off with me speaking my thoughts and my opinions on certain topics, cultural topics, you know, being a woman in an industry and, you know, just speaking as me. And then season 2 kind of developed where all of a sudden I had the likes of Steve Harvey, Liza, Koshy, Lily Singh, you know, all of these people on my podcast. Phenomenal people who I look up to greatly, who I learned so much from just being able to have one conversation with. And it just kind of developed over time. And I mean, I haven't done the podcast for a very, very long time.
But you're working on season 3, aren't you?
I am working on season 3. There's so much to do, Carlton. I'll be honest. There is so much to do. I'm like, okay, what takes precedence? So I'm focusing a lot on speaker at the moment, but I would love to, you know, continue everything legit and make sure I see season 3 through to the end.
I'm sure you will, because I know you're determined that way.
Yeah, I hope so.
You've done many, many corporate events. You've done sports, technology, fashion, for women empowerment, for women leadership.
Yes.
You must be on a different level. and the way you make everything seem so smooth. It's something that I look up to. And that's really fantastic. And you do it with such grace.
Oh, you're very kind. I'm glad it comes across that way because behind the scenes, it doesn't feel that. You know, I'm all over the place and I'm so grateful to my family. I don't know how they deal with me. But it's a lot. It's a lot of balls to juggle at the same time. But I refuse it. And I do not like it when people tell me I should just focus on one thing at a time. I don't like that. I'm a 200% person. I'm constantly on the go. I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly wondering how I can evolve this or make this better. I constantly want to be better. So when I feel like there's an idea of mine that I want to pursue, but I don't have the time, so to say, there's no such thing as not having the time. There's sacrificing or evaluating where your time is going to, understanding that this time into, say, sector A of whatever it is you want to do isn't actually necessary or needed. Let's adjust that time and put that time towards the new idea. I constantly have things that I want to do. I do agree that there is such thing as getting too much on your plate because it can get super overwhelming. And I have burnout all the time. It's something that I really, really struggle with. And I am trying to figure out techniques in how to deal with it and how to cope and coping mechanisms. But the burnout happens. It's just a cycle. It happens at least once a month where I've just been going. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, my body physically is telling me I cannot do this anymore. Can you just take a day off? Right. And I'm getting better. I think that, you know, naturally we think that if we don't do something in a day, we failed the day. But it's just not true. You know, I think that relaxation should be considered an achievement. You know, it's an achievement towards productivity because guess what? If I'm relaxed today, then I'm going to be able to give 100% tomorrow. So it's a process. I'm learning. But yeah, I'm just lucky I do what I love, I think.
How do you manage your challenges, starting off with burnout?
The way I like to put together my time, and people have different methods when it comes to scheduling their day, their week, their months, or whatever. I love time blocking. Time blocking to me is super, super important. If I'm not time blocking my day, I feel absolutely lost. So what is time blocking? Time blocking is literally going through your day from the second you wake up, the time, for example, 6 a.m., all the way through to before you go to sleep. And time blocking is putting towards time 6 to 7 a.m., you know, meditation, journaling, scheduling every single hour to the T. Now, some people might think that's a bit too much and a bit too intense, but for me, I need to compartmentalize my priorities and my tasks of the day. So I list out my tasks, I then prioritize the tasks, what's most important, what needs imminent decisions, and what emails do I need to reply to, what emails do I need to read. I even schedule in time to talk to my mum, time to call friends, time to switch off, watch TV. I time block that. That is literally in my schedule because if it isn't in there, I just don't do it. I even have Instagram scrolling in time blocked in my schedule because if if I don't do that, then it's not going to be done. I'm just going to focus on work. So this burnout challenge, I've been trying to balance it out with treating the ways that I can relax as tasks, right? So the booking a massage or making sure I go to the beach to sit at night and just chill, that is scheduled into my week. And that has really, really helped me, because that's something that we take for granted. We just say, we don't schedule it, and we think, oh, I'll do it. And we never do it. And we never come around to it. And then we're like, oh, okay, well, look, guess what I like basically neglected today, and it was myself. I didn't do the things that would make me be at optimum prime levels tomorrow or next week. So I would really suggest to people to time block. It has changed my life in the way that I do all these things, the way I juggle all the tasks that I have, and I feel like the burnout is becoming less frequent as well. So it's been a real positive.
So I'm going to take this advice and I'm going to get back to you in a couple of months and see how it works. Because I time block my work, but I don't time block my personal things to do.
Yes.
And you just said a very powerful statement. You just did not do something that is essential for you, and that is relax or take time off.
100%.
How does this work when you're doing international events, especially the one with Jay Shetty, Love Rules?
Yeah.
That was in India, wasn't it?
That was in India. That was amazing. I did 4 shows for him in India, and then I did Dubai Opera as well. It was amazing because, I mean, if Jay Shetty calls you, you pick up, you answer, and you go. And he is just, he's one of my most favorite people in the world, and he's so wonderful in the message that he is giving out to the world and the love he is spreading. And internationally, it's different, of course. You're completely taken out of your zone. If anything, internationally, I get to relax more.
Oh, okay. I thought there's more work, because see, Dubai, really well.
Yeah.
So okay, I just need to time it. But when you go to a country like India, it's really vast, and communication and the commute.
I felt more relaxed. I felt like I didn't have as much on my to-do lists. I felt like, okay, that can wait till I'm back in Dubai, Whereas when I'm internationally, I'm focused on exactly what I'm doing, and the job that's at hand, that takes full priority. So in this case, it was a world tour with Jay Shetty, which was amazing.
The challenges other than burnout, Nimi, that you have faced in the past or are currently working on?
I think opinions of others is something that I really, really struggled with growing up. And that was, before I got the MTV gig, I was doing YouTube videos, which are all still up on YouTube if anyone wants to have a little bit of a laugh.
All of that will be in the description below.
It's embarrassing now looking back at it, but I was doing all types of YouTube videos. I, was doing political videos. I was doing fashion. I was doing pop culture, everything, just to get out there and release stuff. And it was getting like 2 views. It wasn't getting anything. But it was during that time that people who I thought would support me didn't support me. And it was, I was getting prank calls from people, like anonymous callers. This was back in the UK. And it was, oh my gosh, are you the Nimi Mehta on YouTube? Are you the girl on YouTube? And it was my actual friends, laughing at me for doing all these things. And I really, really struggled with the fact that people were judging me. People were laughing at me. Oh, am I doing the right thing? Do I look really stupid? Am I embarrassing myself? And all these questions were constantly going through my mind. And I was really, really challenged by it, to the point where I stopped doing YouTube videos. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was willing to give up my dream of presenting because I just could not take and handle the scrutiny of others. And then over the years, I think I realized that regardless of what I do, people are going to have an opinion on it. Regardless of what I say, the way I present, my hand being a certain way, someone will have an opinion. Someone won't like it. Then going on the radio, being on the radio, maybe they didn't like my voice. There were some people that maybe found it annoying, but then there were some people that loved it. So equally, as much as there are people that, judge you and don't like what you're doing, look at the other side. There are people who absolutely adore what you're doing. They support you 100%. And luckily, I've got to a stage now where I have more people in support of me. And, I've created a circle around me of friends and a social circle, which I have carefully curated to ensure that it is giving me the best and I'm able to give it the best. The saying that you are the average of the closest 5 people to you. This sits within my heart so deeply because I wish I knew that when I was younger, because I didn't have the greatest people who had my best interest at heart. So therefore, my result was always average. Whereas now I have people around me that support me, that understand my vision. I have friends who totally support me when I don't see them for months because they know I'm working so hard. But regardless, they're sharing my stuff. They're encouraging people to look at it. That's real friends. That's a support system. And you need to surround yourself with these people, because if you don't, your dreams, I personally feel, won't be as attainable as you think they are. I'm only able to achieve my dreams now because of the structure I have around me. And I'm super, super lucky.
Your message to little Nimi a few years ago who wanted to start this?
I would say everyone has their time. There is absolutely no rush. We're not in a rat race. Society convinces us that we're all against each other and that if someone else is achieving and doing better, you're underachieving. But I would say don't look left, don't look right, keep focused ahead, because you're in your own path, you're in your own lane. Anyone else achieving should not affect you. Be happy for them, because your blessings are coming. If you put in the work, your blessings and your hard work will come through in a result in one way or another. So I would say remain focused. Do not compare yourself to others. Your growth is only determined by you. Do not, try to live up to societal expectation of what your growth should be at a certain age. The only pressure that you feel is the one that you're putting on yourself. And just stay focused. I think that's the important thing. And I think kids nowadays, after going to these schools, they do compare themselves a lot to other kids. And, so-and-so has this many followers than me, or this so-and-so is dancing this much better than me, whatever's happening on TikTok, I'm not as cool anymore, so I don't really know. But they try to keep up. And I would say don't keep up. Just stay in your lane. Keep doing you. Stay focused. Head down. And when you look back up, make sure you just have good people surrounding you.
So in order for us as parents and guardians to be the best support, what advice would you give us? What advice would you give me, Nimi?
I think about this actually on a daily basis, because I'm not a parent yet, but I always think about what kind of parent I would want to be. And what I can speak on is just my expertise. So if you have a child who was like me, who wasn't very confident, was an introvert, would barely speak, and maybe you're worried about that child and where are they going to go? Will they be confident enough for themselves one day? Will they be able to look out after themselves in this big world one day? I would suggest really trying to understand them, because that's what my parents did. My parents really understood me. They didn't try to push me to become someone else. They didn't push me to become the loudest in the room. I felt like if they had probably forced me to do that, it would have been so alien and traumatic for me, So I would say as a parent to truly sit down and understand that it's not one size fits all. There is not... All your kids aren't the same either. I know you only have one, but if you have multiple children, I feel like parents do have a tendency to just put one kind of umbrella over all the children. Each personality is different, and understanding the ground, like the grassroots level of, are they a creative? Are they an academic? Do they enjoy doing this? What extracurricular stuff should I get them into? Are they showing passion for? And that only comes with trial and error, I think. My parents put me into everything. They put me into drama. They put me into a speech and word class because I couldn't speak and I wasn't very comfortable doing it. They put me in there, but I didn't like the teacher, so I left. And it's really listening to your child and not projecting your own fears and, your passions onto them, I think is absolutely key.
I feel grateful that you're here. I'm sure that this conversation can have such a positive impact on everyone who is trying to find their voice, everyone who's a social introvert and wants to make it, everyone from the Indian family who want to choose media. I'm sure the parents, the guardians, their bigger society like uncles, aunties, everybody now know.
Yeah.
It has a lot of potential. So following your footsteps and also the information that you've given, which is so incredibly encouraging. Thank you so much.
No,
Nimi.
thank you. And what I want to say to you is I think it's so powerful and so beautiful. I champion people like you who you know create their own platforms to not just be able to learn themselves, but also be able to share other people's journeys and their stories. So I'm so grateful to you for having me. So thank you for reaching out, and I've had a wonderful time. So thank you.
Likewise, Nimi, and all the best for SPKR by Nimi Mehta and
Thank you.
everything that you do. I wish you all success.
Thank you. Thank you so much.